Rwanda is one of Africa's smallest countries, but its story is far larger than its map suggests. Landlocked in East Africa, it sits just south of the equator, bordered by Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Today, Rwanda is often associated with three very different images: green hills and volcanic landscapes, the horror of the 1994 genocide, and a striking modern push toward order, growth, and national rebuilding. Understanding Rwanda means holding all three at once. It is a country shaped by geography, deep social history, colonial rule, violence, resilience, and a political system that has delivered development while raising serious questions about freedom and accountability. Rwanda is frequently called the land of 1,000 hills, and the nickname is not just poetic. Much of the country is elevated, with mountains dominating the west and rolling highlands stretching across the interior. Kigali, the capital and largest city, lies near the center of the country at more than 1,500 meters above sea level. This altitude gives Rwanda a tropical highland climate, cooler than many people expect for a country near the equator. The year is shaped by 2 rainy seasons and 2 dry seasons, patterns that matter deeply in a country where agriculture remains central to daily life. In the northwest, volcanoes of the Virunga chain rise near the borderlands, while lakes are especially important in the west and north. Rwanda's geography also helps explain one of its biggest pressures: population density. About 14 million people live in a territory of just over 26,000 square kilometers. That makes Rwanda one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Unlike large states with vast empty regions, Rwanda has limited land and a mostly rural population. Farms, homes, roads, and towns compete for space across the hills. This density influences everything from agriculture and housing to politics and environmental management. It also makes national planning especially important. When land is scarce, decisions about crops, infrastructure, conservation, and urban development can have consequences for millions of people living close together. The people of Rwanda are often described as belonging to one broad cultural and linguistic community, the Banyarwanda. Kinyarwanda is the principal and national language, spoken by native Rwandans across the country, while English, French, and Swahili also serve as official languages. Within the Banyarwanda are the Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa. These identities have had enormous historical importance, but they are not separate nations with different languages. The Twa are often described as descendants of some of the region's earliest forest-dwelling inhabitants. Over time, social, economic, and political distinctions hardened, especially under colonial rule. To understand Rwanda, it is essential to see both the shared culture and the way identity categories became politically explosive. Human settlement in Rwanda stretches back to the Stone and Iron Ages, beginning with hunter-gatherer communities and later shaped by Bantu-speaking peoples. Over centuries, communities organized into clans and then into kingdoms. A key turning point came with the rise of the Kingdom of Rwanda, traditionally associated with King Gihanga, who is remembered as a foundational figure. By the 15th century, this kingdom had begun incorporating neighboring territories. From the mid-18th century, the kingdom became increasingly powerful. Tutsi kings expanded authority through conquest, centralization, and unifying policies. This pre-colonial state was already highly organized, with systems of hierarchy and authority that later colonial governments would manipulate rather than replace entirely. European colonial rule changed Rwanda in lasting ways. Germany colonized Rwanda in 1897 as part of German East Africa. During World War I, Belgium took control in 1916. Both colonial powers governed through the Rwandan monarchy and reinforced social divisions. Belgian administration in particular favored Tutsi elites and treated Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa identities as rigid categories, rather than fluid social identities. Colonial authorities used identity systems, education access, and political appointments to deepen inequality. These policies did not create every tension in Rwanda, but they intensified and formalized divisions in ways that would later have devastating consequences. The colonial state turned social hierarchy into bureaucratic reality. By the late 1950s, Rwanda entered a period of upheaval. In 1959, a Hutu revolt broke out against the Tutsi-dominated political order. Many Tutsi were killed, and many more fled into exile. In 1962, Rwanda became independent as a Hutu-dominated republic under President Gregoire Kayibanda. But independence did not bring political pluralism or social healing. Instead, power shifted from one exclusionary system to another. In 1973, a military coup brought Juvenal Habyarimana to power. His government retained a pro-Hutu policy and ruled through centralized authority. Meanwhile, Tutsi refugees and their descendants outside Rwanda remained a major unresolved issue, helping set the stage for future conflict. In 1990, the Tutsi-led Rwandan Patriotic Front, or RPF, launched a civil war from outside the country. The war increased fear, propaganda, and political polarization inside Rwanda. Then, in April 1994, President Habyarimana was assassinated when his plane was shot down. The identity of those responsible remains disputed, but the consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Extremist Hutu power leaders used the assassination as a trigger for a planned campaign of mass killing. The genocide targeted Tutsi civilians, as well as moderate Hutu who opposed the violence. In a matter of roughly 100 days, Rwanda experienced one of the most intense genocides of the 20th century. The 1994 genocide was not simply a sudden eruption of ancient hatred. It was organized, incited, and carried out through political structures, militias, propaganda, and local participation. Neighbors were turned against neighbors, and communities were destroyed. The international community failed to stop the killings in time, making Rwanda a symbol of global inaction. The genocide ended in July 1994 when the RPF won a military victory and took control of the country. But ending the killings was only the beginning. Rwanda was left with shattered institutions, mass displacement, trauma, prisons full of suspects, and the nearly impossible task of rebuilding a society after intimate, nationwide violence. Since 1994, Rwanda has been governed by the RPF, with Paul Kagame, a former RPF commander, serving as president since 2000. The government has emphasized unity, security, anti-corruption, and rapid development. It has discouraged public identification by Hutu or Tutsi categories, promoting a single Rwandan national identity instead. Rwanda is often praised for low corruption compared with many neighboring countries, clean streets, efficient administration, and ambitious development planning. Kigali in particular has become a symbol of order and modernization. Yet Rwanda is also widely criticized for limited political freedoms, weak government transparency, restrictions on opposition, and a political environment often described as authoritarian. Rwanda's economy has changed significantly, but it still rests on a mix of services, agriculture, and manufacturing. Coffee and tea are major cash crops and important exports. Agriculture remains vital for rural households, even as the government pushes urban growth and higher-value industries. Tourism has become one of Rwanda's most important success stories and is now a leading source of foreign exchange. Visitors come for landscapes, national parks, and especially mountain gorillas in the volcanic northwest. At the same time, poverty remains a serious challenge. Recent figures show a significant share of the population still affected by multidimensional poverty, meaning hardship is not only about income but also health, education, and living standards. Rwanda today occupies a complex place in Africa and the wider world. It is a member of the African Union, the United Nations, the Commonwealth of Nations, COMESA, the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, and the East African Community. Its membership in both Francophone and Commonwealth circles reflects a country that has deliberately repositioned itself internationally after colonialism and genocide. Rwanda presents itself as disciplined, forward-looking, and open for investment. But its modern story cannot be reduced to either miracle or repression. It is a country of remarkable recovery and unresolved tensions, impressive state capacity and constrained liberties, shared identity and painful memory. Rwanda matters because it shows how a nation can rebuild, but also how difficult true reconciliation and open governance remain. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.